to fire a client. Okay, so and I remember even getting mad at myself because I used to have this one client that used to come in every 2 weeks, and I forgot to pray because it was like imperative that I prayed before this client came in because I know she was just going to wreck the place. Every time she came in, the whole atmosphere just shifted. As soon as we was happy, having a good time, laughing, as soon as she come in, everybody be like, she's here. But you know what? We got a yes, ma'am. Good, good. So yeah, and so she used to just come in and just wreck the place, and she changed the atmosphere of the salon. And so now we was like, okay, God, what can I do when you have this type of client to come in, and that's just changing the atmosphere in the place. And so I had to get better. And she was a client that came every 2 weeks, but then she left it, changing the atmosphere. So how do you handle that? How do you continue to allow her to come, change the atmosphere of the salon, and still make the money that you had accounted for to make? You're accounting for this type of for that money to come in every 2 weeks. But how can you make up that money and keep her as a client? Or do you keep her as a client? Right? So, this life is really for those who have a hard time saying no, or a hard time trying to please people. Without you got to learn how to say no without an excuse or an explanation. And so, in most of all this life is for those who are ready to boss up and to take charge of your environment. We got to take charge of our environment, or we're going to be in our own business, right, Lisa? We're going to be in our own business miserable. You can be making something for a client. I had a young man on here yesterday. He makes clothing, but he can make something for a client, and the client's not never satisfied, and then he has to remake it again and again. How can he just fire that client and still be able to produce income for himself and his family and get rid of a client? So this live is for you. Okay, if you have any problem with that, we're going to talk about that today, okay? And my name is Rhonda Jackson. I'm a licensed cosmetologist and master educator with over 20 years of experience. My mission is to merge corporate strategies into the salon businesses, and without doing all that, without the owners present. The owners don't have to be there to be able to run a successful salon like you want it to run. Now, sidebar, if you're a salon owner, a salon suite owner, and you're still, taking clients, you're still working a job and taking clients, then these lives are for you too, because we're trying to get you to a place where you can go into the salon or salon suite and make the type of money that you want to make without having to work another job. Okay, I worked long and hard just to get you at that place. I know, because I did it. I had to come out of that. Okay, so now let's go, bosses. Okay, so we're going to talk about how using professional ways to fire a client. And the first thing you want to do before taking action, before you like, I ain't taking you no more, and you get all in your emotion. No, first thing you're going to do is reflect on the reason why you're deciding to fire the client. What are they doing exactly? Have you had a conversation with this person expressing, the need for change and how their disposition is making you and the atmosphere uncomfortable? Have y'all had that type of conversation yet? And then if you have, you gotta stop. What I used to do, and this is why I'm giving this second one to you, stop making yourself so available for clients. Sometimes clients, they can be really controlling, and they're like, oh, can you come in on a Tuesday, knowing I don't work on a Tuesday? And what do just to make the money? You go running on a Tuesday. Oh, I need to change my appointment from Friday to a Monday, and they always needing something. They always calling you. But because this client has been with you for so long, you feel obligated to, help them out. And so now you got to get to a place where you don't really want to do service them anymore. So stop making yourself so available to them then. Because I mean, that's easy to do because you have formed a relationship with them, right? And you thinking that, oh, you gotta make it happen for them. You don't. Stop making yourself so available, and 9 times out of 10, they're gonna stop coming to you because you're no longer meeting their need. Okay. And the other thing you can do is choose the right time and the place for this conversation that you're going to have with this client. Never have a conversation when you're already upset, because that's a no. And do not have the conversation in front of other people. You're going to choose a time and a place where there's no interruption. And yet, and this is some rich girl stuff though, but you got to have that conversation. When you have those hard conversations, that's some boss moves, okay? I even remember bringing this one young lady into the salon on a Monday because I had to let her go. But I wasn't going to fire her in front of the whole salon, But I had a conversation with her about, the way the salon's supposed to do things, the way we were doing things in the salon. But she didn't care, but she was doing something, on the side anyway. And so she really wasn't taking the salon matter seriously. And so I brought her in on a Monday and I asked her to pack her things. Those are some boss moves. These are some things you got to do. But again, do not be in the heat of a argument. Don't do it in front of people. Do it, off center. Outside of everybody else even knowing what you're doing. People gonna come in and ask what happened, because they won't even know what happened because you handled it in a professional manner. You got to make sure that you're handling your business in a professional manner. Okay, so the arguing and the loud voices, none of that should even be named among you. Okay, and never do anything when you're upset. If I was you, I would just walk away before I even made a decision to do anything if you're upset. Okay? And the next thing, hi, Minister Marilyn, how are you, sweetie? And the next thing you want to do is be honest and direct when communicating your decision. Clearly state the reason for ending the relationship, stay on topic, and avoid personal attack and placing the blame solely on that person. Remember, you want to use the word I more than you use the word you. Point the finger to yourself instead of pointing the finger at them. And it's just, for an example, you can say, I just feel that we might need to just part ways. I've been feeling uneasy over the last couple of months during your appointment, and I'm no longer emotionally able to address your hair needs. And Minister Marilyn, this can be the same even in ministry. Which I'm not going to have to fire them. But you gotta make sure that you gotta let them know, we no longer connecting, and it's okay. But if you want, you don't need to give them an explanation. But if you want to give them an explanation, depending on how long the client has been with you, you can provide an explanation for your decision, and this can help the client understand your reason and potentially help them if they go to somebody else, because they might not even know, even though you had this conversation with them, they thought you was just playing. You my girl, I've been coming to you 10 years. But so they don't even understand how this is affecting your business. And so when it's a business, y'all friends, but you cannot be so tight of friends where it's affecting your business and your other clients, because that one client is not paying all your bills. Okay. And so if you want to give an explanation, you can just say, we've had conversations in the past concerning this issue, yet I do not believe you're valuing my time or my time with the other clients. I'm talking about a client that's always coming in late. You talk to them, you're like, girl, you can't be coming in here late. You put me behind, coming in late again. Then one client told me, well, I called you and told you I was going to be late. You did, but that does not make up for time because you called me to tell me you was going to be late. And so you're continuing to be late. You're disregarding my time and the next client's time. then I have to let you go, because now you're just messing up the flow of the business altogether. Okay? And then you want to stay professional and respectful when keeping your tone. Make sure you always have a respectful tone, and don't, scream, but you got height, Anita. So you got to make sure you're keeping your tone at an even level to where, it don't escalate the issue. Even when you're there with them alone, you don't want to escalate the issue. And so you want to make sure that you always remain calm, composed, and stern. Do not at any time get your feelings in the way. Don't get your feelings in it. And I said, remember in the beginning, I said, reflect on the reason. When I say don't get your feelings in the way, because they're going to be like, Dad, Rhonda, girl, we go way back. So why don't I just start coming in on time, and I do this and I do that, and then you get in your feelings. Yeah, you're right. No. Remember the reason that you said that you had to make this decision in the first place? It's still there. It's still there. Let them go, and you can refer that client to somebody else. But if the reason that you're firing them won't affect that next stylist that you're referring them to, then, just hi, Miss Cora. So you just give that client, just say, you know what, I think she probably can better serve you. Just so we can stay cool, I'm going to refer you to somebody else. But if it's a client, she's mean, cantankerous, I'm not sending her to anybody else. Because now that's going to make me look bad, because you're giving, your bad client to somebody else. And you don't want to do that. Okay? Hi, Mr. Freeze. And so the next thing you want to do is confirm the client everything that you talked about. You're going to talk to them so that they won't be able to go and say, girl, she told me to stop coming to her. I don't know why. No, you know why, because we talked about it, right? And so you're going to confirm them and make sure they understand everything that you're saying. And then you're going to let them know that, you know what, everything that we talked about in this conversation here, it won't go past this room. You're not going to go out and talk about that client. You're not going to go out and, say anything bad about that client. Because, see, I have talked to you about 3 different clients. Even during this live, I've talked about 3 different clients, and not one time have I used the name, and never will. And never will, because I always know that you never tell anybody your problem that cannot solve it. So you don't go, we talked about that in one of the lives, just be careful, about gossiping, and just, you got to make sure you're keeping a good name. Your name shouldn't be named among those that gossip and talk about people and bring people down. That should not be named among you, especially as a business owner. Okay? The last thing I want to tell you on today is learn from your experience. Learn from your experience, reflect on the situation, and see if you could have done anything differently. Because we said before, a problem unlearned is a problem returned. If you don't take care of, you don't figure out what had happened with this client and how did you guys get to that place, then it's going to happen again with another client or with another person at another time. So you got to make sure that you understand what was your part in that. What could you have done differently that could have been avoided, right? So you got to make sure that you're taking total responsibility for all the actions that's going to happen during this time that you're firing a client. Yeah, it's kind of hard, but it happens. It happens. You're probably have to fire a client. You're probably going to have to fire a church member. You're probably going to have to fire a customer. You're probably going to have to fire a worker. It happens. But even when all this happened, you can still be able to face that person and speak to them and be cool with them when you're handling it the right way. You got to make sure it's a soul. You got to make sure that you're going about doing it the right way. Okay? And you got to think about how you want somebody to handle you. Okay? And remember, firing a client should be the last resort. And when it's done with care and consideration, it will always be better to try to resolve the issue and conflicts before deciding to end the professional relationship. So you try to resolve it before the conflict even happen. But when it can't, you gotta be a rich girl and do what you gotta do. Okay? So again, my name is Rhonda, and that's the end of our live on today. And tomorrow, I want to talk about the pros and cons of entrepreneurship. This is going to be really good. What does it cost to be an entrepreneur? I mean, should you not to be or not to be, right? So, yeah, that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Thank you all so much for joining in on today. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the comments, and I will see you on tomorrow at the same time. Take care. Bye-bye.